Welcome back, everybody. It is just gone 3 a.m. here in England, and we are into our fourth sort of half game, this one, of the 24-hour stream that we are running here at the place. My name is Alex. I am very, very washed out, so apologies about that one. A little bit too much light. In fact, I might turn some of it off. That's a start, isn't it? That's improved. Yes, we have moved from our sexy, attractive studio into a slightly more dingy, dark corner here in the theatre. I'm joined by the Green Lantern, although that has absolutely no thematic reason for the game that we're about to play. Just nice to have company. For the next probably about hour and a half, maybe a little bit under that, I am going to be playing Thousand-Year-Old Vampire, a role-playing game for one person or a group that works really nicely as a solo, by Tim Hutchins, and I managed to get hold of a physical copy of it, so I have it here in front of me. So this is a kind of journaling / storytelling RPG, and I will be playing as a vampire. I'll be following my own track through this book, responding to prompts of the story that is happening in front of me, and moving through time. And as I do so, I will gain and lose skills, people, resources, and ultimately memories, as I live the life of an immortal over the course of perhaps 1,000 years. We'll see how we do in the time available. What I've done to get us ready is I have done the setup ahead of you joining me, and you can see what that looks like in front of me. I've got so many things, I need to keep that there. It's my timer. I've kept my laptop available just because it's a kind of a historical game. I find it useful to be able to just jump onto the internet, onto Wikipedia or something, and centre the game or the moment that I'm doing with some historical research or some background. I might do that occasionally. I'm going to try not to do that too much. Obviously, if I was playing this out over a longer time, I would do that as part of it. There are a couple of ways you can play the game. I'm going to do the slightly quicker version, but there is a version where every single time one of these things comes up, one of these prompts comes up, you are encouraged to journal, to write a full diary entry about what you've experienced and what happens. Let me explain quickly what I have in front of me on the table. So, you can see, laid out here, at the top I have some skills. I may lose those or check those as we go along. I may add to them. Below that are a list of mortals. These are people from my life that I have met, who I have a relationship with in some description. And beneath that, these are resources that I have at my disposal to do with my life thus far. Beneath that, I have 5 columns. Each of these columns constitutes a memory. As a vampire and as humans, we can only have 5 memories, and each of those memories is made up of 3 slots for experiences. As we go along, I will be each time I get a prompt from the book, I will write a new experience, and that experience will be grouped together thematically, if possible, with other experiences in my memories. If at any time either all 3 of the experiences within every memory is full, or my new experience doesn't fit with any of the current memories, I have to get rid of a memory and replace it. There is a variation where memories can move into a diary, which then becomes a resource that can be lost. But I'm going to skip that because I haven't got as much time to get right into the depth of that. So that's this main block here, and I'll be adding to it with cards as we go along. And off to the side here are two other things that don't change, and they are fixed throughout the game. I appreciate that this may not be as legible as you would like. My plan is to talk out loud all the thoughts that are going through my mind as we play through the game. But this here is the immortal. This here is the man who, or the undead who turned me, who gave me this gift or curse of vampirism. And this here is the mark of the vampire, and that is how my dark curse is physically shown on my form, and something that I have to keep hidden from others. So very quickly, just to give you a background so you understand who I am, I will explain a little bit about what the current experiences that I have are, and a little bit of what my background is, and then we will leap straight in. In order to move through the book, I will be rolling a d10 and a d6, and every time I do that, I will subtract the d6 number from the d10 number and move that many forwards in the book. If it is a negative, i.e. the other numbers are the other way around, for example, I move backwards in entries, and if I go to a place I have been to before or remain at the same location, some of them have multiple entries underneath each of them. So I will always have a new experience, and we will keep going until either I do not have any skills left that I can call upon, or if the book tells me that I have reached the end of my journey, or I run out of time. Whichever happens quickest. So, let me explain who I am. A good starting point, just to let everybody know this as we kick off, is obviously I am playing as a vampire. So, this may be dark. Almost inevitably, there will be moments where I am forced to do horrible things in the name of staying alive and remaining true to myself. That may include killing people that I know and love. It may include the death of any number of people, including children and animals. And this is a game that plays through time. In this particular version I have set up, we will be kicking off in around about AD 1170, obviously quite a long time ago, in northern medieval Europe. So this game may touch upon themes of abuse, it may touch upon themes of slavery and racism, it may touch upon themes that we don't want to look too closely at. If something like that occurs, I will try to be conscious of that and, where necessary, draw a veil over it from my own perspective. And an important thing to note is I do have a little glass of water here, and this is going to be my centering point. It's going to be my touch point. So if I suddenly find that I am getting too deep inside something, that I might need some water just to break from it. Enough preamble. Let's explain who I am. So my name is Luke, and I am the son of Peter. I was born and raised in Bruges, what is now known as Belgium. I was the son of a navvy, a man who dug the canals that made Bruges famous, and my family and father helped to dig those famous canals around about this time. I myself am a struggling merchant and occasional sellsword, where necessary, living in the year of our Lord 1174. Around me, I have pulled together a small number of people who I have regular relations with. My wife, a leader, is mother to our 4 children. We have built a meagre life here together in Bruges. It's tough, but there is love to be found. My memory for that, attached to a leader, is that our wedding was a simple affair, but I remember how beautiful Alida looked. My silver tongue and eye for a good deal can be the only reason someone so precious would pick a wretch like me. Which pulls together my skill of the barterer's tongue, and my skill of being good with money, and my skill of an eye for a business opportunity as well, all into one little experience memory. I have also, in my time, come across Gaston, tax collector of the city and a perpetual scourge of myself and my family. I ran into trouble with him when my second child was born, and he has made life difficult for us ever since. Attached to that is this experience in my memory number 3 here, that despite his attempts to steal it, we have managed to save a small sack of money from the clutches of Gaston that perhaps we can use to escape our difficulties together. Which gives me my resource here, a small sack of silver, enough to start a new life. We have also built a relationship with a lady named Margot, the good wife. Margot is a middle-aged spinster and layperson, an early adopter of a kind of, not Protestantism, but a type of Northern European Christianity that gives a little bit of power to women. She is not affiliated directly to the church, but she operates as a kind of midwife as well, and helped us with the birth of our final child, and in the process saved my wife's life. She gives me this experience here, introducing me to a new business opportunity. A sailor and merchant from the coast cities of the Baltic to the north. We hope that money can be made through a letter of introduction. Resource number 2. However, during my time here as a business person running a small wool weaving shop, I came into contact with a dark stranger hailing from the south, an immortal by the name of Caballeros Ramiro de Leon, a nobleman and spice trader from the south, and a vampire who attempted to steal my business. Trapped here in the weaving shop in the dark, Ramiro attacked me for not succumbing to his dark charms. All I remember is his dark bite and the rough pull of fabric on my neck, gifting me this curse, and leaving behind a mark, a rough, blood-red rash that runs all the way around my neck, never fading, and looking like that of the newly hanged. Initially, we will start off shortly thereafter. Time will move forwards at a pace, depending on what happens. So, first dice roll. Let's find out where Luke is going next. It's a 10 and a 3, so I'm going to jump forward 7. This is a beautiful book, by the way, if anyone hasn't been able to get a copy of it. All gilded and all kinds of wonderful art pieces in it. All of the illustrations, so many illustrations inside it that I haven't even got time to really take them all in. First prompt. My body manifests some trait related to the vampire that created me. How do I become more like them? Create a skill that reflects this. My body manifests some trait related to the vampire that created me. So, my vampire, my immortal, is a nobleman and spice trader from south. I think that what's going to happen to Luke is he is going to start to pick up a strange scent that follows him around, a kind of musty mix of blend of spices that no matter how much he washes, he can't quite shake off this strange aura that surrounds him. So that's going to be my experience. It's going to go into here, and then I'm going to have a skill that derives from that as well. So let's see. How might that come about? So it's going to, I think, initially, immediately after it, in fear of what a leader may say, I hide out in a nearby warehouse. As the days go by, days pass, strange, pungent odour surrounds me that I cannot shake or wash away. So I'm going to put that experience, my handwriting, yeah, like, good luck. At the best of times, bad. Right now, awful. This is going to go, I think, because it's to do with the vampire, I think I'm going to put it in with the other memory that I have of him turning me. And I need to find a skill as well. So what kind of skill would that give me? I think that would mean, how about the skill that I become more attractive to people I am trying to befriend, and I'm going to put that in inverted commas because, you know, befriend is a flexible term when you're a vampire. So that is my first new skill and my first new memory. And I'm going to move forwards. A 4 and a 2. Only 2 forwards. Number 9. You develop a system for feeding. What is it? What happens to those who die? Create a skill that reflects this. So I'm still here living in Bruges, keeping, I suppose, or trying at least to start with, to keep up a pretense of some kind of normal life. It's a bustling city. It's also the early part of the, or rather the late part of the 12th century, so I'm pretty sure we can pass by people fairly quickly without attracting too much attention. So, what's my system for feeding? I think at first he's wary and maybe not fully cognizant of what this all means. And to start with, he preys on the most deserving in his mind and the most missable. Bruges is nearly a port city, certainly part of the trading network. So I think he is going to I collect my victims from around the port area, picking the bullies, the violent, and the drunk. I dump their bodies, their spent bodies, into the canal. Yeah, I think that's what I need to do. That's my system, isn't it? No, this is weird, isn't it? Where do I put this? Another one to do with my vampirism. But also kind of connected to the sailors and merchants of the coast and the canals. So for now, I think I can just about get away with putting that one in there. It's a bit of a stretch, but hey, who cares? I'm in charge here. Create a skill that reflects this. I'm going to say that too many things. Table's not big enough, even though it's huge. The skill I'm going to pick up from that is something like I can drop a stone into water without making a sound. Fleet, like dexterous hands, careful eye. That's my 5th skill. Moving on. 2 and a 1, only 1. Let's go forward to number 10. The stars pinwheel above you at night. The seasons are a blur. You are as an automaton, unconscious of the passage of decades. A century passes. Strike out a memory. Strike out all mortal characters. So, I am as an automaton. Wow. Okay, first of all of my mortals are dead. A century has passed. And I think this one that I've just put in, if I'm an automaton and I'm just going about it, I think I've forgotten what it was like before I started collecting my victims, and all of this has just become grist to the mill. So we have a hole empty there. My experience, however. Wow. Decades pass, and all those around me die. There is going to be a need to move on from what I was doing, leave behind the stories of my mortal life here in the town, and I'm going to embed myself in some other way into the city. I think time passes and I'm going to become like kind of less human and more feral as I change and the mortals leave and then die and the centuries wheel past. So I think over time, my routine becomes calcified. I forget my human traits and fully succumb. I'm not going to be able to spell that right. Oh, I think I did. To the feral darkness of my curse. Tucked deep in the cold, wet crevices of Port I haunt. Wow. I got dark quick, guys. A 6 and a 3. So move forwards. 3. Haven't gone backwards yet. 13. Generations of the same family serve you. This line starts from any living mortal character or from the descendants of a dead mortal character. What bizarre rituals do they tie to their servitude? Lose a resource and create a servitors of the lineage resource. Let's lose the resource first. I think I'm going to get rid of the wall shop. It's going to go. And I'm going to smooth those up. Servitors of the lineage. So I'm wondering, I'm trying to work out what's more dark, whether having, so my lost people are my wife and children, the tax collector, and the midwife. I think being served by the mortal descendants of my own children is too dark for me right now. So I'm going to pick Gaston, and I think that makes sense, that sort of being pulled into this strange, dark, kind of almost animalistic, feral existence, like living on scraps of human morsels down by the dock, that there would be this kind of gnawing sense of injustice that goes through, that would be like fixated on this totally irrelevant human from my pre-vampire days, that turns into this focus and then ultimately into a servitude. So it will be Gaston's descendants who follow and serve me. Bizarre rituals do they tie to their servitude? So he was a tax collector. So I'm wondering if there's some kind of dark echo of that, some bargain that's being struck, kind of like Theseus and the Minotaur type situation, where every certain amount of time, they have to procure a victim different to the normal dark. Yeah. I'm gonna go with that. I'm gonna riff off of that straight away. So, I'm thinking that there is this that they can the servitors and this also ties back into my immortal being a man from beyond the land. The servitors create a story of travel and conquest for victims. They are sent to sea to make new lives make new lives abroad. But never make it off the dock. Just goes with the last memory, last experience. A 6 and a 7, forward 1. An enemy character uses a lost resource to turn a few friends against you. Check 3 skills to regain the resource, or check 1 skill to barely survive. Which former friend did you kill, and where do you flee? So I don't currently have any mortals around me, apart from my servitors. So I think I'm going to need to create a new mortal to make this work. So let's just do that. And let's keep it in line with what we've done so far. So we've got this servitors. You've got this lineage of children of Gaston, the tax collector and scourge of my early existence, and so I think it might be somehow indirectly related to that. And lost resource. The only resource I've lost so far, this one here, is my small weaving shop. I'm gonna say that, yeah, it's going to be the chief tax collector for the city. And we're going to name him. Look up. Here we are. Here we are. This is what it's for. Belgian names. Belgian names. La 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 la. Let's go with Casper. Casper is head taxman in Bruges. Indirect descendant. It's the Middle Ages, everyone's related to each other at this point. Indirect descendant of Gaston. Add him in here. So he's used he used my old shop to turn my few friends against me. I've got loads of skills, I suppose. I don't really want my weaving shop business back. I think I'm too dark and too deep into my feral instincts at this stage to consider that kind of balance. So instead, I'm going to check a skill to barely survive this turn of fortune. So I'm going to use... I drop a stone into water without making a sound. To check that, I'm just going to turn it over. Check. Yek. Yeah. So there's I need to do something here. I mean, it's been a centuries past since I ran this business, but somehow that business opportunity, that business line needs to come through to me, and I'm going to have to get out of it by somehow slipping away in the night unnoticed. I think the few friends I've got at this point are probably people around the docks. They're probably the people who I consider to be too powerful to go against on my own, or too well connected, or too suspicious. So I'm going to say Caspar's interference. I also have obviously my servers as well. Interference with our shipping plan causes havoc. My dark servants cannot aid, and I must dispatch them. Angry and lost, I slip away down river into the night, heading south towards Paris. Now that doesn't fit with anything, so I'm going to get rid of, at this point, I am going to replace my last memory of Gaston with a new memory of one of his descendants. Keep going. A 9 and a 5. We keep moving forwards. Wow. When I played this through as a test, I ended up going backwards almost more than I went forwards, which was fun. But I'm moving ahead with a pace at the moment. 14. I'm going to go forward to 18. I have fed too long in one place, destroying a community or social group. Who were they? How did the last community member die? Gain a scavenged resource. Lose a resource. So I've left behind all that I know, and the last remnants of my existence and life in the place that I had called home have disappeared. I head instead to medieval Paris. I think while I'm there, I'm going to settle down for a while, and keeping to the cloisters and the darkness around the city, I will feed on an order of a religious order, I think. Some kind of yes, a religious order, or would it be... this is where my history of Paris is very much lacking. But what are we, sort of 1280, maybe 1300 by this point. The Crusades are by and large over. The first ones are, at least. So yeah, it feels like a religious order would be good, but maybe this is around about the time that a lot of the city is being built. So maybe I'm gonna pick. Yeah, let's not do a religious order because that's too weird. But instead, a group of masons who have been building new parts of the city and sort of setting up there. So I need a longer card for this one. It's going to be like Paris is fertile ground for feeding on the lost and dispossessed. I fall in with foreign workers building the new city. Slowly I pick them off. How did the last community member die? I feel like there's going to be some kind of dramatic confrontation at one of the buildings that they were creating. And rather than like feast on them, instead I am going to, they will like plunge to their death, trying to escape from my clutches. So something like only Jean, good French name, shows resistance as I attempt to feed his shame must be to plummet from the precipice of the unfinished building. He dedicated his life to. Yeah. Sweet. This is a Paris memory that's starting to build up there. I gain a scavenged resource and I'm going to lose a resource. I think I've had to use my small sack of silver to start a new life that I had with me. Still carrying my letter of introduction to a northern merchant long since dead, handed to me by someone who I have completely forgotten about. But I'm going to gain a scavenged resource, and that resource is going to be a yes, it's going to be draftsman's plans of the medieval city of Paris. I'm sure that will come in useful. Awesome. Keep moving. A 5 and a 6. Our first step back. So I'm going to go back to 17. You commit a despicable murder, but not for the sake of feeding. Why? Check a skill. Remove a mortal character, if you like. The only mortal I have right now is my head taxman in Bruges, and I don't think he's important enough to me, and I wouldn't head away from where I am. I think instead I'm in the city now, trapped in land, away from my routines of docks, although Paris is a river city, a river town. And I'm going to check one of my skills. I think I'm going to check an eye for a business opportunity at this moment. I've left behind the dark animalistic past, and instead I am now making my way back into society in the strangest way possible. So an opportunity comes up, and my memory of before creeps in. So I think this is going to be... It's going to get dark, guys. I behead a rich, prosperous riverboat captain. And merchant. Seizing his vessel. And undertake a change of course in life. Water holds no fear for me. I'm going to check an eye for a business opportunity. I haven't removed a mortal. This is all kind of sea related. I'm still holding on somewhere in the back of my mind to this memory of 150 years ago, maybe longer, of my life before I turned, my childhood and my family, and the wedding day of my wife, and how precious that made me feel. Four. I am trapped outside when the sun rises and take shelter someplace I am not supposed to be. A child discovers and befriends me. Create a mortal child character and record a humanizing experience. Interesting. So I've recently taken on this role, this kind of new mercantile role. Going back a little bit to my previous ways, but also slightly inspired by the cursed person who turned me. I think this is going to be something about like arriving back to port late, bad weather, delays our return to Paris, and I must seek shelter in a village to the east, I think, yeah, the Seine runs east-west, and if you go towards the east, you can get to the Rhine eventually, I believe. Check me. You've got Google. Go and find that. Crouched in a warehouse, I meet small French, a lot of men so far. Let's have a female. Let's meet Laurette. An 8-year-old. Who takes pity on you. And I'm going to share stories of the canals of my home and my wife. I'm going to replace the memory of the wedding day in telling that story. The memory becomes a memory of the memory, and instead of the memory I was there, I now have a memory only of telling the story. I need a glass of water after that. That's dark. Oh, and I need to add a mortal character, don't I? So that is Laurette. An 8-year-old girl from the banks of the Seine. Who saw me for who I once was. Eight and a 1, jumping forward 7. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. A long dead mortal character returns. What do they want from you? How have they survived death? You only recognise them if you still have a related memory. Check a skill. Jesus. Okay. So the only person who is dead that I have a memory left of is my wife. Who is mentioned here for fear of what she may think about me when I first turned. And that is the last thread of memory that I have of her and my time. So she's the only person who can return according to the game. Just as I've forgotten. Hundreds, maybe 180 years after I last saw her. What do they want from me? Fuck. What do they want from me? How did they survive? I mean, the only way they can survive is if they also have become an immortal. Surely. So long has passed that there's got to be something here. Like, in my attempt to fight off and then flee and hide and live this kind of feral life for a while and lose touch with my humanity for so long, I feel like it has to be because the man who turned me, the vampire who turned me, somehow got to her as well. But I think she's aged. I don't think it happened immediately. I think she lived longer. She lived into her 50s, maybe even a little longer. And so when she comes back, it's a shock because I see her for... I don't recognise the woman of my youth. I recognise with beneath the age. Wow. Okay. The leader returns. Older. But alive? Question mark? Reconciliation is difficult. How would she have survived? What would her experience be? It's going to be... I feel like the polar opposite of mine. Like somehow she manages to get herself into a place that's really safe. There's a lot of churn of people. Where, yeah, maybe she like infiltrated a sect of like an early Christian nunnery or something like that, and lived among the order for a long time, kind of inhabiting this existence as a nun, with the habit, so that she's slightly anonymous. Vampire nun, classic. It's difficult. Her time amongst the orders has hardened her. I'm gonna have to check a skill. I'm thinking it's going to be either my barterer's tongue or good with money. I think it's a barterer's tongue. I think she's not friendly towards me at first, and it's only through time and using my silver tongue skills that I'm able to sort of bring her on board. Only my silver tongue keeps me from wrath. What does she want? She wants... What does she want? I think she wants passage away. I think she needs my ability to move cargo. Does she want to leave, or does she want to get rid of something? I think maybe, yeah. She seeks. Oh, what if she seeks to relocate the person who originally turned us? She's looking for passage for Ramiro to return. No, to go south. Yeah, south, but not home. She seeks passage for the coffin of Ramiro. Towards Rome. Yeah. I am conflicted. Perfect. That memory sits. That experience sits in there perfectly with the Alida memory and the memory of my turning by Ramiro. But that memory is now full. And I checked a skill. Done. Great. 2 and a 3. Forward 1. I'm exposed as a monster and flee to a far-off land. I lose any stationary resources, which would be the servitors. I do not know the language of this new place. How do I overcome this obstacle? And what new name do I take? Flee to a far-off land. I have only 2 resources left as I flee. First is a set of plans to a city that I now must leave behind. And the other, in a folded up in a top coat pocket, is a letter of introduction to a northern merchant. Folded, aged, hardened with 200 years of age. The ink faded. I head north. Towards Sweden. Exposed as a monster. And I like the idea that perhaps, time has passed. The person who exposes me is the older, now in her 40s or 50s, is Lorette, who I've been visiting and still talking with. And over time, suddenly there is a change brought about by some kind of some other relationship in her life, and there's this strangeness, and that causes a chain of events that see me fleeing from the city. So it's forced from Paris by a don't know what the word I'm looking for there is. By when somebody turns on you and you're surprised by that. It's been a long day. By a surprise betrayal. There we are, that's the word I was looking for. I must flee north. The land remains inhospitable to me. I crossed the Baltic, seeking a new start. I settle in a port city, an immigrant without a language. I take the name on my old papers. What new name do I take? I am going to take the name of it's going to be, it's on the back because I've run out of space in there because I forgot how to do that. I'm now going to be known as Gustav. And in doing so, I am going to lose all memory of my original name and my life. Six and a 4, forward 2. Fall into a deep slumber for 100 years and strike out any mortal characters. Now I think we've decided Alida is not immortal. She has become another immortal. So I'm going to move her over here. I'm going to cross out this. There are some of these prompts are about setting up other immortals. You're not always stuck with just the one. She, of course, my long dead wife is now a vampire nemesis. What other way would there be? And Casper and Lorette fade from view. Life in cities in Sweden. Gothenburg? Sounds like it's in Sweden. I think it's by the sea as well. If it's not, what are you going to do? Write an angry letter. Is cold, dark, and and the pickings are easy. I become accustomed. And pick up this new tongue. The rest and solitude take me as I wait. So what we're thinking about, so that's another 100 years to 340 since I started. Like it's like the early 1400s, and I'm living in a city that probably didn't exist in the early 1400s, but you know, who cares? 6 and a 2, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I encounter the descendant of an old foe and help them in some way. Why did I do this? Check a skill and create a mortal character. An old foe. An old foe. This family of Gaston has been following me for ages. They're my only main foe. It would make sense if they lived in a town like Bruges for a long time. That over time, as the city became incredibly prosperous and became part of the Hanseatic League, that merchants would make their way all along the northern coasts and through the Baltic. So, and they used to be my servitors. So I think I recognise the lineage. Yeah. What skills have I got left? I become more attractive to people I am trying to befriend, and I am good with money. Good with money. Good with money. Something to do with being good with money. Another of the tax lineage washes up on our shores. Seeking business and fortune. Awakened from my sleep, I use my accumulated wealth to help them build a merchant network. Bringing more victims. from far away. This is all about being in Gothenburg, and for now I have a space here, so I'm running out. I'm running out though. Going to forget even more of my life soon. I've probably got about another 10 minutes left before we're going to pause, and I'm going to hand over. We're going to swap over, and Samal's going to run you through a different solo game. I'll keep going for now. What am I doing? I'm about halfway through the whole book, and I know that the last few prompts are the prompts to tell you to end the story, but equally I actually only have one skill left, so if the next one tells me to, if I get 2 more checker skills, that's the end of my game. Anyway, a 9 and a 4 is 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. How do you conceal yourself while you sleep? What steps have you taken for protection? Check a skill. And create a resource. Create a mortal servant character, if you like. I don't have any mortals. So, yes. I think where I've got to is I become more attractive to people that I befriend. This is all to do with this aura that's around me, I think. Maybe I've forgotten that. Nope, I still remember this pungent aura. Spicy smell affects my noses. Nose. I conceal myself while I sleep. I think that I set my crypt in a... I've got this sort of shipping theme keeps coming back, so I think I set my in the depths of of a ship, like deep in the hull of the ship. But the ship never leaves port. It's like, it looks like a kind of wreck. So I set up life in a sort of dry docked, yeah, that's the word I'm looking for, ship by the harbour. My coffin in the deep hold. What steps have I taken for precaution? I think that in order to keep people away from there's a rumour. I spread a rumour. The ship is haunted, cursed, cursed in some way. Is like it is cursed with a pagan spirit. It keeps the wary away and welcomes the unwary to me. You know what I mean. So that's my experience. I've checked the skill of I become more attractive. Well, that's the one I am checking. And I'm going to create a mortal servant. This is the 6th one. This is going to be... It's going to be Hannah. And Hannah is widow widow of the sea. I don't want to say, like, I was going to say fishwife, but that seems like negatory. Like, that's not what I mean. I mean, like, the wife of a dead sailor. Widow of the sea. She sits beside the ocean nearby, and I learn her secrets. She seems lonely and takes to my needs. It's not what I mean, but takes to my needs, or whatever. Cool. This is probably my last roll. Let's see whether this takes me to another one where I have to check a skill, and if so, that's the end of my game. A 7 and a 4 for a total of 3. 1, 2, 3. I do not have to, but I will do this as my last one anyway. I have archaic ways in spite of your focus on blending in. I create a resource based on a checked skill that reflects this. All of my skills are checked, so I'll just have a quick look at them. Archaic ways, in spite of my focus on blending in. Create a resource based on a checked skill that reflects this. So I think the ones I'm looking at are going to be the Barterer's Tongue or an Eye for a Business Opportunity. So they seem like that would make sense for like an archaic thing. Like the business I look to set up and create is old, like out of kilter with where the world is now, like kind of harking back to something from 200 or 300 years beforehand. Obviously, we're still in the late medieval period, heading into the very early modern period. But perhaps, yeah, I think an eye for a business opportunity, a resource that I pick up is going to be sale of timber, bronze, simple fabric. No. It's going to be a small apothecary shop selling cures and cleansing sin. Fits nicely also with the kind of time of the century, the decade. history. And so the final thing I'm going to do is to put in an experience around that, which is war. Don't know which one, but there must have been a war. It's Europe. War brings despair and injury back to our land. The people demand cleansing and absolution. My old memory serves me well, and soon business is booming, and I am fed until I cannot feed more. It doesn't fit with anything else, and so in this moment I will choose to lose my memory of the times straight after I was turned. So, what is left? I now live under the name of Gustav, here in Gothenburg in Sweden. Forced from Paris by a surprise betrayal by someone whose name I vaguely remember, but under who I don't remember exactly what occurred. I've made life here, and the pickings have become easy. I still have vague memories of a lineage, although they're lost to me. I cannot remember whether they are people who have served me or who have done me wrong. But I know that they have. Our lives have become intertwined in some way. Here, with some strange paperwork from hundreds of years, I have set up a small shop that brings sinners and those in need of aid to my door. And all I remember, the back of my mind, is the person who was responsible for turning me to my dark path. And a woman called Alida, who I remember from two parts of my life. A young woman and an older immortal. And that is where I'm going to stop 1000-Year-Old Vampire. Thank you everybody for joining this moment, and I hope you enjoyed the experience as I played through this book. I really highly recommend getting a hold of a copy of it. An hour and a half is obviously a bit of a rush through, and I did take a bit more time to write this all out. I reckon you probably need to put aside 2.5 hours to play through the whole thing in its entirety, or play it out slowly over a period of time and really get deep into these kind of journal entries if you're a kind of storytelling and writing type person. We're going to have a very brief stream break, whilst Samara and I swap places. but we will be right back here in probably 5 or 10 minutes maximum, where we will play. Smell will be playing Necromance. Otherwise, thank you so much for being here. I'll see you again in a few minutes.
Hello everybody, and welcome to a solo TTRPG called Necromance. Necromance is written by... sorry, I should have double-checked that. Kate Elliott. They are an independent TTRPG writer, and they have written a game called Necromance, which is the one I'm going to be showing you tonight, this morning, depending on where we are in the world. I am going to have my laptop kind of open here because I don't have a physical copy of the game. I only have it on PDF, and I'm going to be scrolling. There's going to be a fair amount of scrolling, and unlike Alex, I haven't set up in advance because I thought setting up and kind of writing a little bit about who you are to start with is a big part of Necromance. So, what are we going to use to play this game? We're going to use a standard deck of cards, which is split here because of reasons that will become apparent. I'm going to move that out of the way. We need something and something to write with, and a 2 D6s. So essentially that is all I have at the moment. And we need a marker for the character, which I don't have, because I was trying to set up. So I'm going to... Well, apparently Alex is coming in to save the day.
Like a little mini?
Yes, please. Welcome to Behind the Scenes as things are happening. So, setup. I'm going to basically be scrolling through the entire thing. So, first thing to do is write a little bit about yourself. Who are you? Who's your lover? I should probably explain that. Sorry, it's very early, very late. Necromance is a game about a witch who is about to perform a ritual to... Thank you. That's a lovely mini. Necromance is a game about a witch who lost her lover and is attempting to perform a ritual to bring her lover back to life. So I'll be playing the witch, and what I need to do first is to essentially write a little bit about myself. Who am I? Who is my lover? How did it die? And what's one of my favorite things about my home in the forest? So, I think that I am called Lily. And who are you? Let's think, a kind of 5'8". I'll go with Mediterranean descent, because always play yourself, I suppose. The lover was Harry, let's go with that, who died from a shot in the heart during World War I. Great. What's one of your favorite things about your home in the forest? The different scents and sounds. Different scents and sounds at twilight. Great. And what season is it? So this is a ritual that's performed kind of at midnight-ish. So I think I'm going to go with it being summer, because it is almost summer in the UK. So, my name's Lily, and I am kind of a witch from Mediterranean descent. My lover was Harry, who was shot in the heart during World War I. He's the one that I'm going to attempt to bring back to life. The thing that I love most about the forest where I live in is the different scents and sounds at twilight, and it is summertime currently. So, take the deck of cards and pull the Ace of Hearts and Two of Hearts, which are here. So this is my home grove. This is where I'm going to start my journey, and this is where I'm going to perform the ritual. Now, the game originally says that once you reach the grove where you're going to perform the ritual, you can continue to explore if you haven't explored yet. I am going to slightly change that. I'm going to say that once I reach there, I need to perform the ritual, and if I fail, there is a condition to what happens if you fail. You can repeat it again, but if you fail then you have to wait a month, and there is increasing difficulty in bringing your lover back to life. So I'm going to say that if I reach the Two of Hearts, I am going to have to start it all over again. So, and I'm going to shuffle the remaining cards. Let's do a very quick. There we go. And then I'm going to draw 22 cards face down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 21, 22. I'm going to put this to the side. And then I'm going to add my Two of Hearts face down and my Ace face up. Just so they're not together. And then I'm going to shuffle that again. And so now I'm going to make rows with this. I believe when I tested it was 6. Might have been 5. Bear with. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Look at that. Brilliant. Just gonna have a quick double check what that looks like on the camera. I'm just going to move that slightly up a bit. So you can see where the Ace of Hearts is. That is, like I said, my grove, and that is where we shall start our journey tonight. So, what's going to happen is that I'm going to decide on each turn, as it were, to move within this kind of forest where I'm at. And for every move, I will move my little character token, and then I will read the correspondent effect of that card, because every single card has an effect. So, let's begin. The last light of the setting sun is fading as you gather up your supplies. It is a full moon tonight, the first since your lover died. According to your studies, the full moon is the best time to attempt such rituals, and the more materials collected during the full moon, the more likely the ritual is to succeed. You sling your bag over your shoulder, grab your lantern, and walk outside. Clip off a spring of one of your favorite plants growing outside your home and add it to your bag, gaining 1 resource. So, this is the time where I'm going to do a resource and a energy point. Energy. So these are the 2 real components of the game. I believe I start with 4. Yes. What is my favorite plant? Is it a bit weird if my favorite plant is a lily? Because I am named Lily. No, I'm going to go with that. So I have 1 resource, and I have, let's do 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes. So now, here we go. I am going to move to the side. 4 of clubs. So, clubs, 4 clubs. You keep searching through the forest, the place you call home. What is something you love about living in these woods? So, I think quietness, like how quiet it is, and I just realized that I'm going to probably have to just shuffle some stuff around. Bear with the joys of not having tested in the space. There we go. So, I love how quiet the woods are. Because my journey has just begun. I am quite contemplative and about to embark on what hopefully will mean the return back to life of my lover. So, let's move up. Continue on clubs. So, Jack. A piece of wood stuck to a tree catches your attention. You hold the lantern up higher and see there are words scratched into the wooden sign. They read, "Don't anger the witch." Does it mean you? Some other witch? You don't know. But you laugh and keep walking. So, interesting. Oh. This might be a really, really short game, or not. Let's see. So, oh dear. Let's straight away go into the ritual. You have circled around to the clearing where you will perform the ritual. You may either begin the ritual now, following the instructions in the earlier ritual section, or continue exploring the forest. Come back when you're ready to begin the ritual. Like I said, and I wish I hadn't now, I'm going to just go for it. So the ritual begins with rolling 2d6s and adding the number of resources that I have. On a total of 10 or higher, I restore 1 point of life to my lover without sacrificing my own energy. On a 7 and 9, I restore a point of life to them, but I also lose an energy point. On a 6 or lower, I expend a point of energy and fail to restore any life. Once my lover reaches 5 points of life, their life is restored and they are resurrected. So, as you can see, I am not doing very well because I've got 4 energy and 1 resource because I picked up nothing and I've gained no other energy points. So, let's see what happens. So, start with an 8, which means that is a point of health to them, but at the cost of 1 to me. Actually, that's not. Yeah, that's 9 because I've got 1 resource. 8, 9. So again, 1 and 1. That is a 9 with a 10, which is actually just 1 to them. Alex is laughing because he's thinking, what are we going to do for another 3 hours? That's a 12 total, so... And... 3, so a 4, which means I actually lose 1. If you drop to 0 energy points without succeeding, your energy is spent, their faint life fades away, and you have to rest before you try again. So we're really on a interesting point. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Ooh, interesting. If you drop to 0 energy points without succeeding, technically that's a 9, so I would have dropped to 0, but at the same time, I would have succeeded. So thank you for playing Necromance. No, well, that can happen. That was very lucky rolls, to be fair. Let's try again, because why not? So at this point I would have just succeeded the game, but that also took me 10 minutes, so that's not enough really to show the game and show the beautiful writing that Kate has done for the game. So we're going to do that now. I need my 2. This is actually something that I thought could happen when I did the test run, because when I did the test, the 2 was also next to my ace, so maybe I'm just shuffling really badly. So let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 2. And then that is my ace, which goes up, and that's my 2, which goes down. So let's say that was a dream the night before. And in my dream, that went really well. So let's see if today brings a different effect. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's the starting point. 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Right. So do that. This is your home, your place of rest and comfort, or it was before the loss of your lover. How do you feel about your home now? So I forgot to read that last time. How do you feel about your home now? It's empty, isn't it? When you lose someone important to you, it becomes a very empty place, and a little bit like in 1,000-Year-Old Vampire that Alex was just running, the memories associated with somewhere or something are almost more important than the actual events that trigger those memories. So it's an interesting thinking. So it feels empty, and it just doesn't feel like the same place. It's just not the same. So, where are we? I saw it too, and I panicked. So, 2 of clubs. You find a small glade you haven't seen before. It looks like a place children might play, with hollow logs, stumps perfectly situated for jumping from one to the next, and a great variety of sticks in many shapes and sizes. In the middle of it all, one log is precariously balanced atop another, as if to make a seesaw. You're seized with the sudden urge to test it out, but you're alone, and you must keep on. Maybe someday you can return, bringing your restored lover, and try it out together. So, I'm going to make a note of seesaw in the glade. Was that the expression? Yes. Glade. Test it out with Harry. Great. So there's only one place I can go, really. I need to flip it before I go. We've had that, haven't we? Yes. A piece of wood stuck to a tree catches your attention. You hold the lantern up higher and see there are words scratched into the wooden sign. They read, "Don't anger the witch." Does it mean you, some other witch? You don't know, but you laugh and keep walking. So, 7 of diamonds. A tree before you glows faintly silver. You reach out towards it, and the air around it seems to crackle. You rest your hand on the tree and find yourself transported. Move to any card, face up or down. I have too many choices. Let's move to the corner. It's a strange passageway opens up. An 8 of hearts. An animal cries out sadly through the forest, and you wonder what their grief is for. You remember back to the initial grief of losing a lover, still so fresh in your heart. So, obviously, Lily So if this is the first full moon, it means that it happened within the last month? Is that how the lunar cycle works? I think so. It's still affected by Harry's death. Right. Let's do a little bit of mirroring. Great. I was trying to be smart and say, I'm just going to add another rule, but I'm actually just going to include the rule that Kate wrote. Probably because of this, exactly. So I'm just going to move on, and I'll come back, because I'm determined to show as much of the game as I can. But, you know, that's where we need to end up. So, we have a ace of diamonds. You find a hedge of bushes, thickly clustered and vibrant. You hold the lantern up higher and realize you've never been here before. Though you thought you were familiar with all the best foraging spots nearby, this will make a good spot for gathering berries, but not tonight. You continue on. So I have discovered a foraging spot. New foraging spot. Discovered. Good. To gather berries. Let's move on. 6 of hearts. Nice. Where did you meet your lover? What first attracted you to them? The memories play through your mind as you search the forest. So, World War One. So somewhere between 1914 and 1918. Great. Where did you meet them? So it would make sense if it happened somewhere around Italy, France, perhaps. Let's go with Lily and Harry met in France. Which probably might mean that this is where we are. We are in France. We are in France. Great. Decision made. What first attracted you to them? I suppose it would be... I had to go for the most complicated words when English is currently a third language. Stoicism, that's definitely not how you write it. But the Stoicism and... it's not physique, it's... it's what? Stoicism and let's go physique, which is definitely not how you spell it either. Stoicism and physique. Brilliant. Jack of diamonds. You see movement out of the corner of your eye. Look over just in time to see a dryad connecting back to their tree. A spirit melds with tree. As spirit melds with tree, you feel a smile and their blessing, and sense of peace. A sense of peace fills you. That's nice. Sighting of a dryad. 10 of diamonds. You You follow the sound of trickling water to a small stream you haven't seen before. A startled deer jerks its head up and stares at you, water dripping from its face. It stares at you for a moment, decides you aren't a threat, then continues drinking. You keep on walking. Not a lot of resource gathering so far. Let's see if that changes. With the 4 of spades. You're suddenly hit with a feeling of dread and a terrible smell, the smell of unnatural death and decay. The plants around you look ill and appear to be dying, and some evil mage seems to be taking hold. You look around and can't see any obvious source. You know something dangerous must be happening here. You hurry on, needing to complete your task, but pledging to return to sort this out when you can. Next time you look in your bag, you find 1 resource taken by the decay, unable to be used. So I've lost my lily. And I have also made a promise. To return and heal the unnatural death and decay of death and decay of a portion of the forest. Great. 2 of spades now. In this area of the forest, the trees stretch high above the others. Their canopy a dense roof overhead. One of the trees has an opening in the bottom, and you hold the lantern down near it, looking inside. A cloud of moths rushes out, a beautiful swirl of green and yellow as they fly off through the woods. There's that image for you. Lovely. 8 of diamonds. A figure looms ahead, catching you off guard. You take a hesitant step forward, then realize it is just a cloak caught on a branch. You wonder whose it was and how it came to be left there. Great. Whose was it? A cloak. Ah. So, this is cloak of the mage who created the death and decay. Yeah, because that happened there. So, death and decay. By looking at them, it probably has a name written, so it belongs to... That's the only name that's in my head right now, so Aganaza. For all of you D&D players out there. Cool, let's carry on. 3 of hearts. You push your way through draping vines as you remember back to favorite times with your lover. What was something you enjoyed doing together? The fond memory invigorates you and pushes you, and you push on ahead, gaining 1 point of energy. Nice. So, what was something you enjoyed doing together? So there is a lot of the grove doesn't feel like the same place, about wanting to go back to the glade for that seesaw. So I think the kind of area itself where Lily is, where I am, is quite important, in our relationship, and I think that this that I'm doing right now, of walking around and collecting bits and bobs to eventually attempt to bring Harry back to life, is something that we would have done together, and we would have gathered resources for potions and general food. So I think the ritual itself that I'm doing is something that we've done before. It's almost like I'm doing this in his honor. I like that, which is why it's so important to get rid of that, because that is a bad spot on a very beautiful memory. So, what did I just say? The favorite thing to do. Was walking around, gathering resources. Resources. There we go. The grove itself is the memory of the relationship. Which is why I feel so empty now, because he's not here anymore. Five of Spades. I have a feeling that Spades is a bad thing, because it has been for those two. If I'm proven wrong. Five of Spades. You come upon a pile of stones with a string of fabric tucked between them, waving in the breeze. These were clearly meant as a marker for something, but upon inspecting the area, you can find nothing of note. You keep walking, wondering if there was something you missed. I forgot to give myself a point of energy for that. Wondering if there was something you missed. Maybe. I mean, it is kind of... We've had kind of grove, corruption, cloak, so it isn't out of the realms that it's kind of happening here, that this marker belonged to this mage of some sort of Aganaza. Maybe as a marker just to be brought here by some form of teleportation magic, something strange. But maybe I'm missing something. Maybe it will be revealed later. So, Four of Spades. Great. Four of Clubs, sorry. You keep searching through the forest, this place that you call home. What is something you love about living in these woods? Is it that the something that I love is also something that I hate now because Harry isn't here? Is it that something that I love is the different kind of the different colors that are present in the forest, especially like through the changing of the seasons and changing in temperature and all of that. And it's something that he would always point out. So yeah, so I would go out to gather resources and do all types of kind of general living, and Harry would be with me, but he would mostly point out to the beauty of the forest, something that I am too accustomed to because I've always lived here, and Harry lived in a city, so this is like big, kind of moved into the moved from a city to outside the city. I can't remember what the expression is right now. Um, so yeah, so what is something you love about living in these woods? The colors. I love the colors which Harry always pointed out to me. And I love the idea that I have been kind of because of this idea of empty, right? Because of this idea that now everything feels so empty. There is something in there about feeling like there's not a lot of color currently, which is when you feel terrible. Angst is not the not what I mean. When you feel severely kind of severely sad, is that you can't see positives, and so it's kind of this vicious cycle of not being able to, not seeing kind of the colors anymore, and because he's not here, and because he's not here to point out the colors, and because I'm so accustomed to the forest, I'm not entirely sure where the colors are anymore. Oh, yeah, I should have warned this was probably going to get heavy. I'm tired, so I'm just going to rely on my loving of sad feelings when writing. So there you go, you've got that to look forward to. 3 of spades. Spades has been pretty bad so far, so let's push in on that. 3 of spades. You remember you have a potion of strength and luck in your bag. You pull out the bottle and uncork it, the smell of rosemary and cinnamon wafting out. Upon drinking the potion, you gain 1 point of energy, so we're on 6, but no resources, which is quite bad. As you put the bottle away and begin walking away, your foot kicks against something and you look down and you find an animal skull. You put it in your bag and you gain 1 resource. Ooh, so we are in a very, very good position right now. 6 energy. We have a skull of a animal. Which animal is it? Forest animal. Could it be a fox? Let's go with fox. So a fox skull. Awesome. Of spades. Before I do that, I'm just going to have a drink because a bit parched. So, a sense of life and loss draws you forward, and searching around, you find a small gravestone. You read the inscription and wonder at who laid someone to rest in this hidden place. You whisper a blessing over the grave and lay a present sprig of rosemary next to the gravestone in remembrance. You read the inscription. What does it say? Gravestone. Let's actually turn the page. So gravestone reads Here lies M indiscernible, O indiscernible. Forever. And always. And you wonder at who laid someone to rest in this hidden place. I don't know. I can't read the name, so I'm can't help. I can't really use my imagination to wonder. Plus, I'm focused on what I have to do next. Lot of spades here. Lot of spades here. Your stomach rumbles, and you realize the air smells of freshly baked bread. You look around trying to figure out where it would be coming from, and walk in the direction you think it could be. Try as you might, you can't find the source. Perhaps a nearby cottage you had never seen before. You continue on, hungrier than you were before, and feel suddenly tired, losing 1 point of energy. So, I've also been walking for a long time now, so that makes sense. Queen of Clubs. You hear the sound of a flute in the woods nearby, playing a joyful, inspiring song. You feel drawn to it, and almost begin to dance, then shake it off and keep moving, veering away from the music before you get drawn in. It is a very joyful song, though, and it inspires you to keep going. So I think I'm going to stay there for just a moment and hold that thought, and then I will move on. Gosh, we are running out of cards. So, 6 of spades. 6 of clubs. It is late, and the second half of... We're almost halfway through the stream. Second half is very me heavy, so you have that to look forward to. You had the first half being quite Alex heavy, and now it's going to be me. So, 6 of clubs. As you walk through the trees, something about a group of branches catches your attention. You walk closer and hold up the lantern and realize the unnatural cluster in the tree is a deer antler lost in the branches after the last rooting? We'll go rooting. Rutting? Probably rutting because root is double O. Joys of not being English. Rutting season, let's go with that. You cut it free from the overgrowth and add it to your pack, gaining 1 resource. So, we now have a fox skull and a deer's antler. Brilliant. So, we are going to move... Which way should we move? I'll tell you what. 1, 2, 3, I will move... Yeah, you guys can see the dice. I'm going to use that one though. 1, 2, 3, I will move left. 4, 5, 6, I will move right first. 1, I will move left first. So, 5 of hearts. You're suddenly struck with the memory of your lover's death and are overcome with a sense of loss and grief. You lean against the nearby tree and try to recover yourself, losing 1 point of energy. This is what I get for saying that things were going well. So I now have 4 energy points. 1, 2, 3, 4, which is what I started with, but I have more resources. So, and last time I did it with just starting equipment. So this is the point where someone picks up that bit and says comma, or how it started versus how it's going. 9 of diamonds. So 9 of diamonds. Ooh, that's quite a long one. You step into a small glade. Despite the thick canopy overhead obscuring the moon, the air is filled with a faint golden glow, and the feel of magic warmly wraps around you. Lush, verdant grass covers the ground, and in the center rose a fairy ring of 9 sparkling red mushrooms with tiny white spots. You step forward and kneel next to the ring. In the center, 1 more mushroom materializes. You whisper a request for permission, and when you feel assurance, reach out and gently grasp the mushroom, pulling it towards you. After giving your thanks and a small blessing, you rise and softly leave the glade, wondering if this place will still be here next time. You choose whether to save the mushroom as one resource or eat it now and gain 1 point of energy. Ooh. So, this is interesting. This is something that, as kind of looking at game design, you can kind of think of, is that gaining a resource essentially means that the probability of you succeeding is higher. But if you have more energy, it means you can try more times. And someone who is good at maths that is not me will probably tell you which one is the best to do. I think Lily, from a story perspective, at this point, is on the last kind of push. And this is the moment where she's going to go back, explore that last bit, and then go all the way down to the glade to perform the ritual. So I think that she will save the mushroom as... No, she was going to eat the mushroom and gain 1 point of energy. Yep, that is what I'm going to do. So then, if you land on cards that are already turned up, it doesn't really matter. You just keep going until you reach one that doesn't. King of Clubs. Close it up there. As you walk, you hear something behind you. You stop, then the noise stops. You keep walking and it seems to follow you. You turn and raise the lantern and see a small, injured fox looking up at you mournfully. When you hold out a hand, it cautiously approaches. So you pull out some supplies from your bag and tend to its wound. Do you leave it or try to bring it with you? Now, remember earlier when I tripped on a skull of an animal and I said, it's probably a skull of a fox. There's currently a fox nearby that is injured. So I give it some resources and I tend to its wounds. Do you leave it or try to bring it with you? Interesting. I think I am going to bring it with me because once the ritual is successful, and it will be, I can, or we can, Harry and I, can give some love to that fox, who, as far as I can tell right now, is alone, and I do have the skull of a fox in my bag, which doesn't bode well with the whereabouts of its kin. So, I'm going to take it with me. So, a fox stays with me. So, here we are. So what do we have? We have, first off, read the indicator. You have circled around to the clearing where you will perform the ritual. You may either begin the ritual now, which will happen, and or continue exploring the forest. I've explored the forest to its full, so I think it's time to go for it. 2 resources, 5 energy. Considering that I've done that with a lot worse, feeling confident. Cut to 2. 7. Back to the ritual. So, on a 7 or 9, but it's 7 plus 2, 9. You restore 1 point of life to them, but also lose 1 point of energy. So, I'm going to be on 4. And Harry is going to gain 1. 9, 11. So Harry is going to gain 1. 11. 5. On a 6 or lower, you expend a point of energy. So 3, 3. 5, 6, 7 with resources. Restore 1 point to them, but also lose a point. 4, 2. That's cocked. That's 5, 6, 7. So after my dream, where I achieved the resurrection quite quickly, it was a longer journey, but equally as exhausting as it was in the dream. But eventually, Harry comes back to life. So, I'm going to go through the journey and see what changes now that Harry is back. The glaive, or the forest, pardon me, doesn't feel so empty anymore, because Harry's back. And which means that actually he is now pointing out the colours to me once again, and it feels a little bit like home. I think, despite all of this, I am still quite affected by his death, because that is quite a traumatic experience, and I don't know how many more times I'll be able to perform this ritual. We both go back eventually, after Harry's recovered from coming back to life, to the foraging spot discovered to gather the berries. Berries which will be used for the ritual that will heal the unnatural death and decay of the portion of the forest. We definitely go back to the seesaw in the glade. That's probably one of the first things that we do, going back there. We have the fox, of course. We have a pet now that we give all the love that is possible. And yeah. Well, it is still a little bit early, but I think we are going to take a big-ish break, about 15-20 minutes, but maybe, and then we are going to come back. It will be me again, and I will be guiding a group of new players through Cyberpunk Red, so you have that to look forward to. Thank you very much for watching me play Necromance. Thank you very much for staying with us and watching Alex also play 1000-Year-Old Vampire. This was the solo tabletop RPG section.